Hello, Lions, and welcome to the fourth episode of Lion Talks. I'm your host, Derek Gomez.
And I'm your host, Desiree De Jesus.
And today's episode is going to be a little bit different than what we usually do. April is Autism Awareness Month, and we wanted today's episode to honor that. I'm sure some of you watching may know someone diagnosed with autism, but whether you do or you don't, we hope that you can take away some more knowledge about autism and how to be more mindful of others. To start off, we have a video from a student here at World Scholars, Alan Castro. Alan Castro is a freshman. He is also autistic. In this video, he has a few words to share with the World Scholars family about his life as a child with autism. We hope that you take his words to heart and support children and families affected by autism.
As we all know, April is Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month.
And before this great month of celebration comes to an end, I would like to share with all of you a poem that speaks about my journey with autism.
Autism awareness and acceptance should be part of our education today because it helps everyone to be more understanding and embracing of people with unique capabilities.
This video has been made exclusively for World Scholars, who has been very supportive of me, my education, my success, and of course, all of the students who have autism and are uniquely capable.
We invite all of you to celebrate with us Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. Be a friend, choose kindness and inclusion.
And discover the amazing things we can accomplish when we learn together and from each other. Share away, Alan.
Looking back, I was 2. I couldn't speak. Looking back, I was 4. I uttered sounds. Spoke a foreign language, it surely seemed. Looking back, I was 5. Healthy, happy, normal as could be. Looking back, my mama tried, took many forms. Became my teacher, therapist, but being her child always came in first. Looking back, my brother expected the most out of me. Looking back, I was 6. Suffered greatly in a new school, and I could barely speak. Looking back, I was 8, back in my old school, happy, at peace. Looking back, when I could talk, I told my dad, "No, I don't want you." "I'm sorry, Dad." "Yes, I did." Looking back, I was 9. Making friends was hard for me. Looking back, I had a baby sister, just one more person to keep me upbeat. Looking back, I served God and played chess, but how can I forget? Looking back, I loved dinosaurs, and Godzilla was my middle name. Looking back, I was Mad Hatter, Red King, and Javier. Looking back, I sometimes wonder if I'll grow up and forget the amazing life that was given to me, so much love, passion, and absolutely no regrets. Looking back to yesterday, I am in high school. Now, I self-advocate, my mama's still standing, and I am still that child with a winner's face. Looking back to when I was born, autism has always been there. Is it sad? Is it true? Autism couldn't break me, and I defied the odds, broke through many barriers, and fought with all my might. Looking back, I love my life and who I am today. I embrace my journey and share with you what I am today.
Thank you, World Scholars, for watching, sharing, and supporting.
Lions roar for autism, education, and inclusion.
Bye for now.
Thank you, Alan, for sharing your experiences with us. We are so happy and honored to have you as a part of our Lion family here at World Scholars. Today, we have a very special guest on today's show. She's an event organizer and program director at Team Mario, an organization that aims to educate, support, and advocate for children and families affected by the autism spectrum disorder. She's a speech language pathologist with a master's degree in communication science and disorders from UTRGV. Please welcome Ms. Lisa Beccera Walker. Good afternoon, Ms. Beccera Walker. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today to be on today's show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm extremely excited to be here.
We're glad to hear that. So to start off, we want to ask a couple of questions about your career and a pathway to work for Team Mario. So our first question is, as a speech language pathologist, you must work with many people. So while choosing a career, how did you decide to dedicate your professional career to work with people with autism spectrum disorder?
Sure. So I was pretty much inspired to work with the special needs community in general. My cousin is blind and we kind of grew up together. So I think I always wanted to help just individuals who needed help. When I was in college, Team Mario was actually inspired by a little boy whose name is Mario, but Mario also stands for something. But his mom put up flyers all over campus, and she was just looking for somebody to come in and kind of like tutor her son. And he was 3, so he's 16 now.
Wow.
But still, like at that point, I saw a flyer, and I feel like I got adopted into this autism community, and it was just a perfect fit for me. As far as just being a speech language pathologist, I guess the same thing, you take an intro course and you fall in love with this profession, because
Absolutely.
At the time I was like, I'd get paid to play with kids. And I thought that was an amazing opportunity to be able to make a difference in children and still have a blast.
Absolutely. I mean, that's very touching to hear. Definitely working with people that are children that do have a disorder. That's something that not everybody can do. So we commend you for that. And you do an absolutely amazing job doing that. So we thank you very much. So before you joined Team Mario, could you actually tell us what you were doing before joining Team Mario and what led you to the position that you hold with this organization?
Sure. So before I joined Team Mario, I guess Team Mario was the young man now, because he's a teenager, but it was his ABA program, and ABA stands for Applied Behavioral Analysis. So it was just a little home program that his mom put together. And from there, in 2014, we decided to create teammario.org to be able to provide opportunities to lots of families and lots of individuals within our community. So that being said, I became program director of Team Mario, the organization, and we started just having monthly events. Our first event was actually a social skills camp at the university, and that was the catalyst to starting all of the different events.
So you kind of touched upon how joining Team Mario was kind of like them adopting you, and you've been there since the beginning. You've worked through all the different years of Team Mario. So how has working with Team Mario changed you in any way? And if so, can you please describe how?
I think that the biggest change that I've seen in myself is just the ability to, our motto is believe, teach, inspire. Like that's our Team Mario motto. And I'm able to apply that to everybody, I think, not only individuals on the spectrum, but individuals with all abilities, to be able to believe in them, to teach other people about, whether it's raising awareness or just different things, and then to inspire. My hope is that our little org can inspire, all of you to be able to make a difference and to be able to pursue that ability.
That's really inspiring to hear. And I'm sure that a lot of people watching are wanting to do the same thing as you are with helping these children. So what skills do you think are important for your job, and why would you recommend your job to anyone who may be interested?
Sure. I think that you need to be flexible because a lot of different things can happen, especially when we have events or when we have like new participants, and creative. And for sure, just be resilient, because as the pandemic has shown us, a lot of things have changed. It was extremely difficult for our families as well, because we worked so hard to get our kids into the community. And now, for the community to just be shut down was really, really difficult. But if you have all those skills and then sprinkle on top a lot of patience, I guess, because it's something that you definitely need. It's a quality that's needed. I think that you're golden for pretty much for any job that you choose to have, but for sure in this particular field, as a speech language pathologist and as a program director for Team Mario, those are some of the skills that I continue to work on, but that are definitely needed.
Absolutely. So for anybody who may be interested in following the same or similar career path that you did, are there any classes, programs, or opportunities that you recommend a current high school student take to have a similar career as you or do the same thing as you do?
I would take, if you're able, if your school offers ASL, I think ASL is a great skill to have to be able to communicate. For sure, I know that there's a lot of different foreign languages, but broadening that aspect of your skills would be great. Anatomy and physiology, if you are going to go into speech communication disorders, but anatomy and physiology would be good. And then any service clubs like the Lions Club and all the other clubs that you're able to volunteer for, I think would definitely give you opportunities to widen your scope.
So you touched on a few of the skills needed to be a speech language pathologist, such as flexibility and patience. And some might be intimidated by the patience required to work with children. So what encouraged you to work in a field full of children?
I love children. I think kids are probably some of the best teachers because they always tell you the truth and they're always willing to kind of go for it. I mean, it's a lot easier for a child to be adventurous sometimes than an adult. So I think that's something that just I've always worked with children, whether it's with Team Mario or outside in other orgs and at church. That's something that I've always been. It's very easy for me to go into like big kid mode, which to me is fun. When we go on, we do like summer adventures with Team Mario. So sometimes we go on trips within Texas or outside of Texas. And we group up all of the family. So I'm always in the group that, okay, let's get on all the roller coasters or let's go to all these places. And I think that it is intimidating, but kids accept you. I think that, they're super, well, sometimes, right? They're super easygoing sometimes.
So now we're going to move on to some questions pertaining to autism within a high school context, because, we are a high school and we want to get some more information about how we can further help autistic children within our school. So first of all, is there anything that you think a school as a whole should do to raise autism awareness?
I think pre-COVID, we actually have a program called the Peace Out campaign. So it's like puzzle piece, but also peace out, because that's like another thing that we say all the time whenever we're leaving. Mario always says peace out. But as part of that Peace Out campaign, we partner with schools from elementary schools to high schools, and they're able to, I would come in, I would do a presentation about autism, and I would explain what it is and how they can be superhero friends to everybody. And then the school would take over with, we offer lesson plans, we offer the puzzle pieces, right? Typically pre-COVID, schools would be decked out in a lot of puzzle pieces with a lot of different names. And that's just a way for, we promote autism awareness and acceptance, but then the student and the school would then in turn promote it as well through the Peace Out campaign. And then 100% of all the proceeds go back into our community. So, and I myself am a volunteer as well. So we all have full-time jobs apart from, working with Team Mario. Which can be a little daunting, but it's something that we love giving back to our community.
I mean, that's amazing that you're partnering up with all these schools and you're doing your part in helping make sure that everyone in the community gains some awareness. So what is one thing that you think high school students should know about autism? I mean, you mentioned doing presentations as a part of those programs. So what are some information that you can give right now? Obviously, since you can't do the presentations since we're in the pandemic, so.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that my hope is that high school students could see autism as an opportunity versus like it's just something that we need to deal with, right? It's an opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone and to give back, and you're able to step up, right, to embrace these differences. So take it as an opportunity to make a difference, to meet new people. A lot of times, it's easy to see volunteer work as work, right? Instead of, oh, this is service and it makes me feel really good to make a difference. So just embrace it. as an opportunity.
Do you believe that schools are doing a good job to help kids with autism get diagnosed, or are there ways that schools can improve upon that?
I think it's a team effort between schools and families. Like there always has to be a collaboration. Right now, ECI programs also help diagnose children a lot earlier. So by the time a child gets into the school district, they already have a diagnosis. Hopefully, they have the resources and the accommodations that they need to thrive in that academic setting. But definitely, I think that if a school is on board with the parents, getting those diagnoses are easier.
Absolutely. So going back to what you do for a career, what's one of the things that you focus on or do when you're introduced to a child with autism?
I think that I like to get to know the child. A lot of times it's really easy to, if I get, whether it's a report or even just like a questionnaire, it's really easy to get a list of everything a child can't do. And then as soon as you know that, your perspective of that child will change, whether you want to or not, because you're like, oh, they already told me they couldn't do that, or this is too hard. But if you go in with just this clean slate and you give the child the opportunity to, connect with you and bring you into their world, you have a better chance of making a difference in that child's life.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, like you mentioned, just thinking of what they can't do kind of limits our perspective. So I think going in with an open mind when considering children that have autism is really helpful to know about. And so in 2013, Asperger's syndrome stopped being used as a diagnosis and is now considered a part of the autism spectrum. Can you elaborate on that for us? And has that impacted your volunteer work or affected the way you help others?
Yes. So the DSM-5 is kind of like the diagnostic manual, right, for all of the disorders. And in 2013, Asperger's was taken out of the DSM-5. So when they made the new version, everything was considered ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder. For me personally, because I have autistic friends who are in their 20s, maybe a little bit older, sometimes the identity that they gave themselves was, oh, I have Asperger's. So for them, it was a little hard sometimes to get, like, oh, well, now I have autism, or now everything is autism. So from that perspective, from that personal perspective, I saw firsthand how it was a little hard to, change that and flip that switch. But on a whole, I think just having everything categorized as autism spectrum disorder, it's a little more inclusive, and it's no longer like, oh, this is Asperger's, this is PDD-NOS is another diagnosis that also got grouped into ASD. And we're just able to, as an org, we're able to help, all children. So it really didn't affect the org and how we perceive individuals on the spectrum. But it is hard sometimes for that change to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned about all the work that you've done as a speech language pathologist and as the program director for Team Mario. So you participated in many trainings related to disabilities. So what are your biggest takeaways from those? And do you have any knowledge from those that you'd like to share with anyone watching right now?
Yes. So one of the biggest, as an SLP, obviously, right, our goal is to help individuals find a voice, communicate, and for everybody to be able to say what they want and say what they need. So one of the terms that I hear whenever I do trainings as well, I use presumed competence or presumed potential. And that just means, and it goes for anybody, it doesn't have to be somebody who has a disability, regardless of disability or ability. If we're able to presume competence or presume potential in that person, then we are going to think that person is able, think that person is a person, that person has thoughts, that person has feelings, and that person has a lot to say. Instead of, oh, they can't do it. Because a lot of times that's the first thought that some people get. And one of my favorite quotes is, not being able to speak is not the same as not having anything to say. So a lot of people have a lot of things to say and they just can't, say it. And that goes a lot for individuals who are autistic as well.
Definitely. So going back to the topic of high schools or schools in general helping children with autism, what could we as students do to be more inclusive of others? And how can we be more mindful of children with autism?
I think that it's important to, in this moment, think about your current circle of friends, right? If everybody in your current circle of friends is just like you, whether in interest, right, or ability, my advice is to widen that circle, expand it, get to know somebody who's different, and be mindful, of those differences. I think that when you're mindful, you have empathy, and you're able to help people that are different than you. I remember going into a classroom, and they were a teenage classroom, and when at the end of all my presentations, I asked students like, "What did you learn?" And it happened to be Mario's classroom. But in that moment, one of the girls, she's like, I learned that Mario's in my class, because a lot of times children with special needs, they're in another class or they're separated, right? And she's like, I don't think I would have ever realized, that there was anybody like Mario if I hadn't seen him in my class. And it really, to me, I had never thought of that perspective because I see people like Mario all the time.
Right.
but sometimes, you don't have that ability to connect with that individual. So you have to go out there and make that opportunity happen. So I'm hoping that high school students and everybody alike will go out there and meet somebody new.
Absolutely. So speaking on Team Mario, how could someone start volunteering with Team Mario? Are there any volunteer opportunities currently or in the near future?
Yeah, so right now, the majority of our programs are virtual through Zoom. But if you ever do want to volunteer, please let us know. You can reach out to myself or on our teammario.org webpage, there's a little link for volunteering, and you can just let us know your times that you're available. We're slowly transitioning into a more social distance kind of platform, but we're not there yet. In addition to that, every year we have, last year our 5K was virtual, but every year we have like a huge 5K that we're thankful, that Edinburgh CIC is able to always like help us with that. And we always need volunteers for that as well. And then as far as our summer camps, which we're still, yet last year they were virtual as well. But we would partner up, whether it's you or another student with an individual who's on the spectrum. And then you guys become friends and buddies, and you're kind of like in camp together. So that's called peer mediated instruction. And that's something that we also train those volunteers. So we have an entire buddy program where we would train you to be a good buddy to somebody who's a camper.
That sounds amazing. I've taken part in the 5K that you guys host, and it's always a great experience. You guys do an amazing job with all these different volunteer opportunities and ways to outreach to the community. So amazing job with that. Along with Team Mario, are there any other autism organizations that you recommend for others to volunteer with as well?
I think there's a lot of organizations that help individuals with disabilities in general. The other autism organization that I do know of is Bebel's Angels. You would have to reach out to that org in particular. And then Special Olympics is always a good work to be able to get a wide variety, of differences and really cool experiences. But there's a lot. There's so many. There's down syndrome organizations. There's organizations with like all different abilities, and it's just the opportunities are there.
Yeah. So, is there any anecdote from work that goes through your mind whenever you're, working with these children or with disabilities? Is there anything that has stuck with you throughout your career and comes back to you every once in a while?
I think that it's like a variation of the same kind of story where there's a child who does not speak, and I work with a lot of assistive technology as well. So when I'm able to create an opportunity for them to either, push a button or say something, that's always amazing for me, Recently, it was a very involved, child, and they're like, baby shark. they play Baby Shark, and it's like, yes, let's play Baby Shark. And I had heard Baby Shark like a million times, but I played it anyway, right? But that was an instance where it was just like, you know, probably that was the only opportunity that he would have gotten to say that with the device. And now that child has a device, and they're able to, you know, grow with it. And I mean, I don't see him anymore, but still, like, that difference was made. We were able to get him a device, and now his entire future is going to be different, I hope.
Absolutely. And going back to talking about volunteer opportunities and the 5K run that you guys host, what's been your favorite event that you've organized or directed for Team Mario's Autism Awareness?
I think every year the 5K is up there because the 5K is awesome. But a couple of years ago, we have, you know, summer adventures, and we took, I want to say maybe 25 families to Disney World. So we got everybody on a plane. I think we had like 90 some volunteers with everybody in general. We had to do trial runs at the airport. So we, you know, the McAllen airport was super, you know, cooperative. We practiced going in through TSA, lots of social stories, lots of video stories that we created. A lot of times this was the first time that child and parent had ever been on a plane. So that was really, really interesting. And then going to a place outside of our community, because I think that our community is used to seeing Team Mario at the movies or Team Mario out there, right? But you go into a community that isn't probably aware or as accepting as your community is sometimes. That in itself is a challenge also. But I was able to see just how anything is possible really after that trip. Like, and we were able to help a lot of kids have this experience that was truly magical. It was my first time at Disney World as well. So, but it was just really, really cool. And it stuck with me because it's something that looks so big and so impossible. But our executive director, which is Mario's mom, one of her favorite quotes is by Walt Disney, which is, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible." And that's Team Mario, like, all the way. So.
Absolutely. And we love that you guys do that and spread awareness to everyone around the nation as well. You do a place like Disney World in Orlando, which is very cool of you guys to do. And so to end off our questions, is there anything that you'd like to add or think that would be important or beneficial for our viewers to know about what you guys do and how to spread more awareness for autism?
I would say, regardless of your age, right? Everybody has the capacity to make a difference. And as much as we promote autism awareness, which I think that you can't have acceptance without awareness, because how can you accept something that you know nothing about, right? Bridge that gap, bridge the gap between awareness and acceptance, and follow through with, just promoting that attitude of acceptance wherever you guys go and wherever you might be, because you never know, one, who's watching, but also like the difference that you can make in just one person. So.
And is there anything, sorry.
Oh, no, go for it.
Is there anything that you would like to say to clear any misconceptions about kids or adults with autism?
Yeah, we have a lot of programs, which we didn't go into like every single program that Team Mario has, but one of our newest programs is called SOAR, and it's a young adult and teen program that we help, transitioning into careers, college, all of those job readiness skills. But I would say that for adults and kids who are autistic, sometimes there's this misconception that they want to be alone or they want to be left alone. I just want to encourage you to know that not only are individuals with autism affectionate, right? They want to be included. They want friends. I think that we can all relate to feeling that need for friendship and community and connection. And that's something that we all need, regardless of ability. And a lot of autistic adults want relationships, they want to get married. There's the same, we're very similar. So just, we long for acceptance, they long for acceptance. And that's something that I hope sticks with everybody. But, we might be different, but we're also the same.
Yeah. I mean, I have a nephew who's actually autistic, and, he's the sweetest person that you'll ever meet. I mean, whenever he comes over to our house for school, I wake up in the morning and he welcomes me with a hug, like, good morning. And it's just the sweetest, most fulfilling thing to me. And so, that mentioning that was really touching. So we're going to move on to a little tradition that we are creating here at Lion Talks. It is the first word that comes to mind game. So when we say a word to you, you're going to say the first word or phrase that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind. So your first word is Team Mario.
Love.
Spectrum.
Ah, is that a word? Sorry. Unique.
Advocate.
People.
Awareness.
Acceptance.
Lions.
Lions. Roar.
And finally, you, Miss Lisa Beccera Walker.
Oh my gosh, how is that one the hardest, guys? I'm gonna go with silly.
That's cute. Well, that wraps up our time here at Lion Talks. Thank you, Ms. Lisa Beccera Walker, for taking the time to talk to us about autism awareness and information regarding disabilities. Information regarding autism and disabilities is something that many people do not have. And we hope that what we talked about today will help world scholars and the rest of the STIZ family how to learn to be better allies with the autistic community. Though autism awareness often goes unspoken, we can do our part in being allies by speaking up, spreading awareness to even more communities, donating and emphasizing the voices of the autistic community, even by just reading more information to gain a better understanding. We all must work towards an inclusivity that doesn't just tolerate, but embraces and uplifts. And together, we can make that happen. Here at World Scholars, we are committed to start and continue with the conversations that, although difficult sometimes, will ensure that we provide every single student with the opportunities to reach their full potential. So to everyone watching in the YouTube Live, thank you for joining us on our fourth episode. We will continue to keep bringing you exciting guests. Please send us a message if you have any questions, suggestions, comments at social.worldscholars@stizd.net. I'll repeat that again, social.worldscholars@stizd.net. We are looking forward to hearing from you. On behalf of our principal, Ms. Ortiz, our producer, assistant principal, Ms. Ramirez, and our executive producer, Dr. Villarreal, thank you everyone for joining. Tune in for our fifth episode soon. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Desiree.
Good evening.
And go Lions.